Hello everyone and welcome to Speak Like a Native. I'm your host Julia, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have you join me today for what I promise will be a game-changing episode about mastering English fluency. Whether you're a beginner who's just starting your English journey, an intermediate learner looking to break through that frustrating plateau, or an advanced speaker who wants to sound more natural and confident, this episode is designed specifically for you. Today we're going to dive deep into the secrets that native speakers use naturally, and I'm going to share practical, actionable strategies that you can start implementing immediately to transform your English speaking skills. You know, I've been teaching English for over a decade, and I've worked with thousands of students from all around the world. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that speaking like a native isn't about perfection. It's about connection, confidence, and understanding the subtle nuances that make English come alive. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's embark on this journey together. The first thing we need to understand is what it actually means to speak like a native. Many learners have this misconception that native speakers never make mistakes, that they have perfect grammar, and that they know every single word in the dictionary. But here's the truth that might surprise you. Native speakers make mistakes all the time. They use incomplete sentences, they say, they sometimes forget words, and they definitely don't follow every grammar rule perfectly. What makes native speakers sound natural isn't perfection, it's fluency, rhythm, and the ability to communicate their thoughts effortlessly. They have an intuitive understanding of the language that comes from years of exposure and practice. They know which words go together naturally, they understand the subtle differences between similar expressions, and they can adjust their speaking style depending on the situation. Think about it this way. When you speak your native language, you're not thinking about grammar rules or vocabulary lists. You're thinking about what you want to communicate, and the words just flow naturally. That's exactly the mindset we want to develop in English. We want to move from thinking about the language to thinking in the language. Native speakers also have something called linguistic intuition. This means they can sense when something sounds right or wrong, even if they can't explain the grammar rule behind it. They might say, "I don't know why, but that just doesn't sound right." This intuition develops through massive exposure to the language in natural contexts. Another crucial aspect of the native speaker mindset is confidence. Native speakers aren't afraid to make mistakes because they know that communication is more important than perfection. They focus on getting their message across rather than worrying about every little detail. This confidence actually makes them more fluent because they're not constantly second-guessing themselves. Now let's talk about one of the most important aspects of sounding native: pronunciation and rhythm. Many English learners focus too much on individual sounds and not enough on the overall flow and rhythm of English. English is what we call a stress-timed language, which means that stressed syllables occur at regular intervals, and unstressed syllables are compressed to fit between them. This creates a very distinctive rhythm that's quite different from languages like Spanish or French, which are syllable-timed. In syllable-timed languages, each syllable takes roughly the same amount of time. But in English, we stretch out the important words and compress the less important ones. This is why English can sound like music to non-native speakers. It has a very clear beat and rhythm. Let me give you an example. Listen to how a native speaker would say this sentence. "I'm going to the store to buy some groceries." The stress words are going, store, buy, and groceries. The unstressed words like I'm, to, and some are said very quickly and often reduced. So it sounds more like, "I'm going to the store to buy some groceries." Connected speech is another crucial element. Native speakers don't speak word by word. They connect words together in smooth, flowing phrases. This means that the ending sound of one word often blends with the beginning sound of the next word. For example, "What are you doing?" becomes "Whatcha doing?" and "I want to go" becomes "I wanna go." Intonation is equally important. English uses rising and falling tones to convey meaning and emotion. A rising tone at the end of a statement can turn it into a question, even without changing the words. A falling tone shows certainty and completion. Learning to use intonation naturally will make your English sound much more native-like. Word stress is another area where many learners struggle. In English, every multisyllable word has one primary stress, and getting this wrong can make you difficult to understand. For example, the word photograph is stressed on the first syllable, photograph. But photography is stressed on the second syllable, photography. And photographic is stressed on the third syllable, photographic. When it comes to vocabulary, native speakers don't just know a lot of words, they know how words work together. This is called collocational knowledge, and it's one of the most important aspects of sounding natural in English. Collocations are words that naturally go together, like heavy rain instead of strong rain, or make a decision instead of take a decision. Native speakers learn these combinations naturally through exposure, but as a language learner, you need to be more intentional about it. Instead of just learning individual words, learn phrases and expressions. For example, don't just learn the word rain. Learn it's pouring, it's drizzling, it's sprinkling, heavy rain, light rain, rain cats and dogs, and rain check. Phrasal verbs are another area where you can really sound more native. These are combinations of verbs with prepositions or adverbs that create new meanings. Native speakers use phrasal verbs constantly in casual conversation. Instead of saying, I need to examine this problem, a native speaker might say, I need to look into this problem. Instead of, I will tolerate his behavior, they might say, I'll put up with his behavior. Idioms and expressions are the spice of native English. They add color and personality to your speech. But here's the key. Don't try to learn hundreds of idioms at once. Focus on the most common ones that you'll actually use. Expressions like break the ice, hit the nail on the head, piece of cake, and it's raining cats and dogs are used frequently and will make you sound more natural. Register awareness is crucial too. This means understanding when to use formal language versus informal language. Native speakers automatically adjust their vocabulary and grammar depending on who they're talking to and the situation they're in. They might say, I'm going to purchase some groceries in a formal context, but I'm going to grab some groceries with friends. Context is everything when it comes to vocabulary. The same idea can be expressed in many different ways depending on the situation. For example, if you're late, you might say, I apologize for my tardiness in a business meeting. Sorry I'm late to friends, or my bad in a very casual situation. Here's something that might surprise you. Native speakers don't think about grammar rules when they speak. They use patterns and structures that they've internalized through years of exposure. This is why focusing too much on grammar rules can actually hurt your fluency. Instead of memorizing rules, you need to internalize patterns through practice and exposure. Native speakers use a lot of what we call chunks, prefabricated phrases that they can use without thinking. These might be things like, I was wondering if you could. It would be great if. I'm not sure whether. Or the thing is that. Learning these chunks will make your speech much more fluent and natural. Sentence variety is another hallmark of native speech. Native speakers don't just use simple subject-verb-object sentences. They use complex structures. They start sentences with different elements, and they vary their sentence length. They might say, having finished my work, I decided to go home, instead of, I finished my work, then I decided to go home. Native speakers also use a lot of ellipsis, leaving out words that are understood from context. Instead of saying, are you going to the party? I am going to the party too. They might say, going to the party? Me too. This kind of natural reduction makes speech more efficient and conversational. Language and culture are inseparable, and this is especially true when it comes to sounding native. Native speakers don't just use different words and grammar. They have different communication styles, different ways of being polite, and different cultural references that inform their speech. Understanding indirect communication is crucial. Native English speakers, especially in cultures like Britain and North America, often communicate indirectly. Instead of saying your presentation was bad, they might say your presentation was interesting, or there might be room for improvement. Learning to read between the lines and use this kind of diplomatic language will make you sound much more native. Small talk is a huge part of English-speaking cultures. Native speakers use small talk to build relationships, fill awkward silences, and show politeness. Topics like weather, weekend plans, current events, and shared experiences are common. Learning to engage in natural small talk will make you much more comfortable in social and professional situations. Cultural references are everywhere in native speech. These might be references to movies, TV shows, historical events, or shared cultural experiences. While you don't need to know every reference, being aware of major cultural touchstones will help you understand and participate in conversations more naturally. As we wrap up today's episode, I want you to remember that becoming a more native-like speaker is a journey, not a destination. It's about developing habits, building confidence, and gradually internalizing the patterns and rhythms of English. Here are your action steps for this week. First, choose one aspect we discussed today and focus on it intensively. Maybe it's working on connected speech, or learning 5 new collocations, or practicing the rhythm of English. Second, find opportunities to practice with native speakers or advanced learners. This could be through language exchange apps, conversation clubs, or online communities. Third, immerse yourself in authentic English content, podcasts, movies, TV shows, books, and pay attention to the patterns we discussed today. Remember, every native speaker was once a learner too. The difference is that they had the advantage of learning from birth. But with focused practice and the right strategies, you can develop that same intuitive feel for the language. Thank you so much for joining me today on Speak Like a Native. I'm Julia, and I believe in your ability to master English fluency. Keep practicing, stay confident, and remember, every conversation is an opportunity to improve. Until next time, keep speaking and keep growing.